everyone, and welcome back to Luxe and Wine. My name is Caitlin. If you're new here, welcome. And today I am here to share with you the second part of my Fendi journey with my Fendi Spy bag. I actually have already filmed this. I just forgot to film an intro, so I'm here inserting this intro. So if you haven't already, make sure you go watch the first part of this video. I will have a little drop in and I will insert it in the box down below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and leave me a comment letting me know about any experience that you've had buying pre-loved. I'd love to know all about y'all's experiences and which you prefer. Who's your favorite place to buy pre-loved luxury? Let me know in the comments down below. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I wanted to give an update on what happened with Fendi bags. I actually still have both. I have initiated a return for this one. And I am still keeping the original one that I got from Vestiaire. This is the one from Fashionphile. Basically what happened is I reached out to Authenticate First, who originally authenticated this one, and asked about the authentication of it and submitted questions. I submitted pictures of the stitching on this bag, and I asked if that was normal because I had seen other pictures with this color stitching. And I'm gonna insert some photos of the stitching on both bags so that you guys have an idea of what I'm talking about, because there's really just not an easy way of seeing this on camera. So when I reached out to Authenticate First of all, it was a nightmare because their chat function does not really work very well. So one of the things they advertise on their website is that they have a hotline. I don't really know what that hotline is. There was no phone number. So I submitted a chat. Well, the chat isn't actually a chat. You write in the chat box and then you're sent an email. And then you get sent another email when somebody responds to your chat. And then that is a link to go back to the chat because the chat doesn't actually update. That's not a chat function. That's an email customer service function. So just let me reply in the email, because let me tell you, the back and forth, having to constantly follow links as they updated the chat was just kind of silly. I sent probably 5 or 6 messages detailing the additional photos, specifically asking a question about the stitching. And all they said was, this bag is authentic. Okay, I needed more than that. So I reached out to a friend, I've mentioned him before, Purse Prince, and he is actually a professional authenticator for a living. He mainly does Hermes, but I reached out and I was like, can you take a look at this? I'm really up a creek here. Do you know anything about this? And he was so sweet. He was like, just send all the pictures. He's like, I'm just gonna do like completely re-authenticate it. I sent him all the pictures and then I showed him my specific question. He did verify that my original bag is in fact authentic, even though the stitching is different. But what I really appreciated is he explained why my bag was authentic, even though the stitching doesn't match. Because you guys know how Louis Vuitton is very specific. So I was confused because obviously I'm more used to Louis Vuitton authentication. I primarily have studied Louis Vuitton authentication since I was in high school. I have been up on what authentication was for those, how many stitches, the marking, the what pattern that the LV is supposed to be in, what colors are supposed to be, what is not, what is a sign. All those different things was something I really enjoyed checking out. I'm no longer up on it. Do not send me anything to authenticate. I'm not there anymore. And I was specifically only really up on like Speedies and the multicolor collection. The point is that every Louis Vuitton bag has the same number of stitches to do certain things. Every bag is exactly the same type of system. That is not the case for all the fashion houses. And that was something that I guess I should have understood. It seems like common sense. Of course, all the houses don't do it the exact same. Louis Vuitton is probably the closest to like an Hermes level. Everything's exactly the same. My understanding is Chanel used to be like that, but maybe not so much anymore. But the Italian fashion houses like Fendi and Valentino and Versace, they're not quite as, you know, there's 37 stitches on the handle and 37 stitches on the same handle of a different bag. It's not like that. And that even falls as far as stitch coloring. So that was something that Mason shared with me and I was like, okay, so that doesn't necessarily mean that your bag is inauthentic just because the stitching color is different. So some of the fashion houses talk about things being handmade, but these bags were actually machine made. He's authenticated other spy bags before, and this is very common with the spy bag. So the point being is if you are looking, especially if you're trying yourself to authenticate something through photos online prior to making a purchase, don't freak out if the stitching looks different, if it doesn't match, if it's a little off, because that is another thing on, I think it's the Fashionphile one. So on the Fashionphile one, on the front, there is actually a bump. So instead of the stitching going straight across right there, it goes dee 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 beep beep. And that's not something you would ever see on a Louis Vuitton bag. I'm not saying nobody's ever messed up or sneezed while sewing a Louis Vuitton bag, which is basically, that's what it looks like. It looks like me. But bless you. That's just not something you would see. The other thing that was kind of different is the way that there is more blue on the leather here. But this one has just got a lot of glue residue, and the glue residue is bothering me enough, and I don't feel comfortable trying to get it off, that's why I decided not to keep this bag, and this one will be going back to Fashionphile. And I'm gonna continue working on getting this bag, getting the smell out, instead of holding on to 2 bags and trying to resell one later, because I really just think that this one, even though I spent a little bit more on it, I like the way it looks better. I think I can work with the smell. I'm so glad, I'm so thankful to Mason. Thank you, Mason, for helping me out on this. And I definitely do not feel, after this experience, after everything with Authenticate First, I will not be using Authenticate First again. I just had a lot of trouble with their website's functionality. It's just not super user-friendly and just doesn't always work. And even to answer the chat, sometimes the chat wasn't working, and I actually had to go to another computer in my house and just try that, because I was like, maybe it's just the security on my computer. But anyways, I just didn't feel like they were trying to make me feel more confident in my bag. And I felt like that was the service I paid for, was for you to tell me it's authentic and then stand behind it if I had a question about it. And I just didn't feel like they did that. I think going forward, I've been recommended some other authentication services from some other girls on here that I'm definitely going to be trying. I just feel like if I were to ever have a question in the future, I would much rather be able to get my question answered thoroughly rather than wondering what's going on. And I'm willing to pay the extra $5 or $10 to get the customer service that I need to feel confident in my purchase. All of this was double authenticated. This bag was authenticated by Vestiaire before I got it, and I authenticated it again. And that bag was authenticated by Fashionphile prior to me authenticating it again. That being said, I did not pay for authentication on the Fashionphile bag. I just compared it to the bag that I already had that I knew was double authenticated. And like I said, everything matched except the stitching. And that's when I started asking questions about the stitching and learned what I learned. So now I feel really confident about my bag and my purchase, but I also know that for me in the future, it's worth spending a little bit of extra money to buy from a place like Fashionphile that communicates better, takes better photos, things go faster, and has a good return policy. And I don't have to worry about any hidden fees, hidden charges, taxes, and shipping, and people holding my bag hostage, basically, like, because it's also in the US. So I feel more confident in that. And like, long story short, in the future, I will continue probably to double authenticate, and I don't really see myself shopping anywhere else other than Fashionphile and Rebag. I just feel like I don't want to go through this again. I don't want my full-time job to be trying to save a couple of $100s on a bag, but taking a risk. In the position that I am now, I do not have the time to go do a bunch of research to authenticate myself. I just don't see that as a good use of my time when I could be doing something else that generates income. It took me a long time to figure out. I used to spend a lot of time doing things that I could pay someone else to do and dedicate more of my time to things that generate income rather than things that are just trying to save me a little bit of money. There is a point that is a breaking point where it's like, spend an extra $100 and spend that 6 to 8 hours that I spent trying to save $100 on something else that could have generated more income. That's it. I mean, that's really it. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I really appreciate y'all sticking out this video. Like I said, I just really feel like I've learned a lot from this experience, and I'm so glad that I got to share it with you guys. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. If you like videos like this, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below and tell me about your experience. Have you had a great experience with Fashionphile, Rebag, the real. Tell me about it down below because I'd be really interested to hear about your experiences. And I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.